Hello，各位觀眾大家好，咁好歡迎大家咧收睇《遠華時報》啦。咁今日咧我哋有兩位嘉賓咧，一位就係 Sheldon。Hi Sheldon，how are you?
I'm well, thank you for having me tonight.
Yeah, good to see you again today. 咁
Same.
另外一位嘉賓咧就係 David 啦。咁 David 咧佢就姓謝嘅，咁佢咧本身咧就係Burnaby Neighborhood Watch 嘅代表。你好 David。
Hello，大家好。Hello，Anita 你好。
David can speak Cantonese, Mandarin and also English。咁今日咧就非常之榮幸啦，咁請到兩位啦，咁就講一講咧Burnaby 咧就將會咧係喺一個民居啊，可以講下近學校又近公園嘅一個嘅 supportive housing， 同埋一個嘅 CCH 就係 complex care housing。咁呢兩種嘅 housing 咧，我諗我哋一陣間咧會同大家多啲嘅再深入講下究竟係咩嚟嘅。咁啊，首先咧我想講一講咧就係喺 Burnaby Neighborhood Watch 咧喺12月嘅4號咧就舉行咗一個嘅記者招待會啦。咁咧就係呼籲咧呢個BC Housing 啊，呢個政府咧就係撤回呢一個喺Burnaby 5389號 Imperial Street 嘅一個嘅支援性房屋同埋綜合護理房屋嘅呢個項目㗎。咁已經有超過1萬名嘅 Burnaby 嘅居民咧，就係簽咗呢個嘅請願信㗎啦。咁而當日係落住雨嘅，咁亦都有好多位超過幾十位嘅當地嘅居民咧，就係都出嚟咧，就係一齊開呢個嘅招待會。咁咧就因為咧今次咧呢一個嘅事件咧係好影響大家嘅生活。佢喺正好多間嘅小學啦，可以話係9間小學、1間中學，甚至咧有一啲嘅elderly care， 即係老人中心啊，甚至係日托中心啦，即係托兒所啦，甚至係有好多嘅商戶喺附近嘅。咁好多嘅居民喺嗰度生活，佢極力反對，覺得今次咧呢一個嘅支援性房屋係不能夠接受，因為係會造成好大嘅風險。咁所以咧大家都願意企出嚟咧，就去守護自己住嘅地方啦。咁不如咧，我哋首先咧就請一請個 David 啦，講一講啦，你而家嗰個嘅情況啦。咁即係 tonight we are discussing a decision that could reshape an entire community. Okay, the government is proposing a supportive and complex care housing project at 5389 Imperial Street. Okay, on the paper, it sounds compassionate, but compassionate without safety, without planning, and without accountability can turn into harm, not help. 所以我好想咧，David， 不如講一講，其實而家喺 Burnaby 喺附近嘅居民有啲乜嘢嘅反應啊？
大家好，我叫 David。今次想同大家講下咧，呢個 supportive 同埋 complex care housing 其實唔係大家覺得係幫老人家啊，或者幫我啲嗰啲 low income 我哋啲居民，我哋咧其實係覺得如果 BC Housing 搞嗰啲房屋咧，係幫需要嘅人就係咁樣講。而家咧，我哋做咗啲 statistics 咧，就知道話其實 Sheldon 都幫到我好多。佢同我講其實咁樣嘅 complex 會害我哋嘅 community。點解咧？因為complex care 呢個 concept 咧，唔係係需要幫啲有少少問題嘅人。我講嘅問題咧，可能佢哋係 drug addict 或者佢哋有啲 mental disorder。其實咧，佢哋they're not exactly suitable for living on their own， 係咁可以咁樣了解。佢哋係其實需要24小時都有人去 surveil 佢哋嘅。咁 Sheldon 就同我講佢自己個經驗。佢其實都係住喺 Richmond， 喺一間 supportive housing 對面嘅。咁有啲居民搬咗入去之後咧，佢個 neighborhood 就亂咗好多。譬如講有啲 needle 喺地上，成日執到佢成日見到人喺隔離吸毒，或者有啲人佢哋 真係 high 咗就瞓喺條街嗰度，咁樣我哋係真係好反對，唔想要見到我哋個 Burnaby 都變成咁樣。仲有咧，我其實我爸爸媽媽其實喺Downtown East Hastings 曾經開咗間餐廳，有超過10年嘅時間。我其實都知有好多 low income 啲人作為我哋啲 customer， 但係嗰時候仲未有呢個 fentanyl crisis， 所以咧我就好驚我哋個 neighborhood 會有好大嘅改變，因為而家我哋 Burnaby 一直以來都係比較 quiet 嘅，比較 it's not
residential, very residential
very
area.
residential。像 Anita 你頭先講嘅，我哋附近有好多間學校，咁我哋做咗個簡單嘅 statistic， within walking distance 有6間小學，五六間小學同埋一個 Burnaby South 一個中學。如果係睇 statistics 嘅話，差唔多係4000個學生。Within walking distance, they'll be affected. You know, 我哋仲知道有4間seniors homes nearby. And then, you know, there's 29 childcare service.
My goodness, 29 facilities of childcare service.
29, including daycares, including after school services, including extracurricular activities. 所以我哋就覺得 and I'm not even talking about the other businesses. 有餐廳有 supermarket 有係好多 gas station, pizza shop, paint shop. There's a computer store, Canada Computers, you know, right across the street. So 其實呢啲人都呢啲公司呢啲鋪頭咧，佢哋都they didn't get any sort of notification. So we want more accountability from the government.
Right.
Yeah.
I would like to ask Sheldon about what is the supportive housing? Because I think the government always confused us. They let us think that the supportive housing is for the seniors, but it is not at all, because supportive housing mostly or anyway is not mostly, almost 98% is for homelessness. It's not for senior only. So please tell us more about the supportive housing. What is that about?
Well, first, we have to acknowledge that the government has deliberately chosen to use the word supportive housing, because who doesn't want to be supportive of people who are homeless or people that are vulnerable? All of us want to help people who are homeless and vulnerable. But this current concept of supportive housing utilizes a concept called low barrier supportive housing, which is essentially no barriers. Sometimes in the past, it has also been called SRO, single occupancy units, a little bit different. Sometimes they've referred it to as temporary modular housing. There's a complex care portion that is part of this. They have a lot of words and jargon definitions that have slightly different meanings, and it's all to confuse the general public, so that if anyone questions it, they will point out that you're misinformed. You don't know what you're talking about. Most people won't pay attention to all of this because it's all internal Ministry of Housing.
Mm-hmm. Because they divide it into very small specific housing. If you go on the website of the BC Housing, you can tell supportive housing is not for the senior. They don't have the seniors facilities. I mean the equipment. They are all for the homelessness. And the CCH is mostly for the substance used people live in, and also the mental health. So supportive housing is honestly for homelessness. And mostly they are substance use people.
Yes.
So I would say that.
And so I will preface this by the fact that I live across the street from a 40-unit low barrier supportive housing site that was put up at 6999 Alderbridge Way in Richmond. That went up about 5 years ago. When it went up, of course, we saw an increase in the neighborhood of open drug use, discarded drug paraphernalia, so needles. It started off with needles, but now it is pipes because more people are smoking their drugs rather than injecting. So now we find more pipes and tin foil, aluminum foil that they use to burn it. There is incidences of course, general public disorder, but that can involve like vandalism, breaking into condos, into hotels to do their drugs, to steal mail, steal food, steal scooters, bicycles, e-bikes. There's been incidences of threats and harassment, especially of women and seniors who felt frightened. There was a woman walking her dog in the dog park, and there was a guy doing drugs. She told him not to. He pulled down his pants and exposed himself to her and sexually harassed her. That's happened numerous times to women that were by themselves. Sometimes there was assaults where like a strata president got assaulted for asking someone to stop doing drugs on their property. She kicked him and the police said there's nothing they can do. So the people that go in here are homeless people. Not all homeless people are drug addicts. The one across the street from where I live, 35 residents were drug addicts, according to a city councillor. 5 were not. It's unfair for homeless people who are not drug addicts, and they don't want to be in this housing because they'd rather be homeless on the streets, because at least they don't have to be around people that are high on drugs that can be dangerous because they're high on drugs, as well as the drug dealers that come there to do their drugs view that the homeless people that are not drug users are also threats to their interests. So they get threatened by both the drug dealers and the drug users. And so this is supposed to help homeless people, but we're just putting drug addicts in this housing, and then they're allowed to continue their drug addiction and all the crimes and disorder that stem from that.
係啦，冇錯，因為咧，Sheldon 咧佢就直情係住喺嗰啲嘅 supportive housing 嘅附近啦，所以呢幾年咧佢睇見好多嘢，佢就係見到周街咧針筒，好多罪案嘅發生，同埋影響咗好多係住附近嘅一啲嘅 residents， 即係一啲嘅居民啊。咁而咧，我睇咗佢哋嘅網頁啦 ，supportive housing 啦，絕對唔係for seniors， 因為佢哋唔係一啲老人中心嚟嘅，因為老人中心咧需要有老人中心嘅設備，同埋咧佢亦都唔係一個 clinical。唔係 clinical 嘅 facilities， 因為佢講到咧係俾好多 disabilities 嘅人去住嘅，即係一啲嘅殘障或者係有冇自理能力嘅人。基本上咧，呢個 supportive housing 咧係俾一啲係冇自理能力嘅人，同埋個 CCH 咧就係俾一啲咧係精神有病，同埋係基本上係吸毒者。所以其實咧，對於喺附近住嘅居民係非常之即係有要挾、有威脅嘅。咁特別咧，佢哋會做任何嘢，因為大家都知道，好似頭先David 都講啦，喺我哋嘅唐人街嗰度，其實我好中意唐人街嘅，因為我覺得好有我哋嗰個文化。但係咧，俾呢啲吸毒者咧係蹂躪到咧，我哋直情一車經過咧，好似個地獄咁樣。我好中意有啲餐廳喺唐人街，我真係好中意幫襯嘅。但係每一次我去到咧，我都有啲唔好嘅 experience 嘅，周街瞓啦，周街大小二便啦，周街又見到針筒啦，係一個好唔開心嘅一個情況。所以其實如果我哋去縱容呢啲咁樣嘅所謂 supportive housing 咧，係冇幫助。佢哋只不過係將佢哋咧集中埋一齊，但係佢就話呢啲係 harm reduction， 但係我哋就唔認為係咁樣。你幫佢哋係應該做 treatment， 但係咧，我想講咧，呢個 supportive housing 咧完全冇，佢唔係醫院啦，佢冇 clinical 嘅設備，亦都冇 elderly 老人家嘅設備。佢只不過有咁多 mentally health 嘅人，可能佢每一日只係揾一個 staff maybe， 佢話有 staff 噶嘛，24/7佢話，但係唔足夠嘅。佢連 security 嘅嘢佢都冇做。No security, right? No security, no gates, no nothing. And only
there is gates.
On it. Pardon?
There are gates, but the gates don't do anything.
Go in and out. Really. no restrictions。So anytime 佢哋一定係會出入嘅，所以咧佢哋所講嘅 everything they tell us, they tell us no worry, we need our compassion to accept those people。佢哋係弱勢社群啊 ，they are weak, they need to be protected。即係我覺得係錯咯，因為你擺咗一個咁樣嘅計時炸彈喺一個咁family oriented 嘅 Imperial Street。好靜嘅一個我好中意去嗰個地方，好靜，啲樹好靚，全部都係一啲好平靜嘅民居，有好多公園，好靚一個地方。點解要咁樣做咧 ？So David, like, okay, so what do you think? What do the people think about it?
I think everyone is fearful。其實我今日上呢個 program 之前咧。有一個婆婆，佢72歲，佢係1995年嚟自南斯拉夫嘅。跟住咧，佢哋就嗰時候南斯拉夫打仗，佢哋就 immigrate 嚟加拿大。佢哋住過溫哥華，佢哋都住過好多地方。跟住咧，佢哋最尾咧係揀咗 Burnaby。點解咧？因為呢度個環境好，呢度冇 Vancouver 咁 crowded， 呢度冇 Vancouver 咁 busy， 係一個好好嘅 residential neighborhood。所以咧，佢而家係佢退休咗咧，佢就揀咗住喺 BC Housing 嘅 Seniors Home，not supportive housing，it's a standard BC Housing supportive home。佢就話住喺呢度都幾開心嘅，因為咧佢而家72歲，佢有好多 freedom 嘅，佢可以揸車出去，佢買餸去 buy low foods，去附近啲coffee shop 其實都冇問題嘅。跟住咧佢就覺得呢個 neighborhood 係 walkable 嘅，因為佢而家住喺 Beresford 同埋 McPherson， 就係離呢個 Imperial Site 唔係好遠嘅。佢話行街都好方便啦，佢食完飯去 Burnaby South 行運動下，其實都係好方便嘅。但係咧，佢知道有咁樣嘅 supportive complex housing 嘅咁樣嘅 project， 佢好驚，真係好驚，因為咧佢覺得環境咧好快就唔似以前咁樣啦，唔似而家我哋咁樣嘅。跟住咧，佢又同啲隔離啲鄰居neighbor 同佢哋講啦，大家都好驚嘅。一個70幾歲嘅老人家，佢哋好多人其實出街都係用 walker 嘅，或者係cane， 佢哋唔想俾potential crime or
yeah， 佢哋蝦人㗎，即係有啲人，因為佢哋 mental problem，they will abuse like the weak.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Women, children, they will do something on them. That's obviously.
Yeah.
And also I want to say that look, those supportive housing, they do provide substance, drug to those people living inside the facilities. So this is what we need to know. It's not they don't there's no treatment, but they will provide drug to them. That's terrible.
For years, the Minister of Housing, 5 ministers of housing, so you have to go back to the last 7 years, 5 different ministers of housing have all said that these sites have wraparound supports, that they're purpose-built, and that there's wraparound supports for them to get into detox and into treatment and other programs. And maybe it is, but I don't think they're actually, like they don't go through the steps to give them access. And there's a shortage of detox. There's a wait list. Sometimes the detox wait list is months. So these people are in active drug addiction. They will not, they're when your mind is on these drugs are chemically altering your mind. They don't want to get off these drugs. And I guess another point that they also play around with too is that drug addicts can be seniors. They can actually be seniors. Drug addicts can also be women. drug addicts can also be persons with disabilities. The fentanyl, the benzodiazepine, and this new one, xylene, which I think is called Trank. These drugs can atrophy your body to the point where they have to amputate your legs, and you see some of them in wheelchairs, and that's not good. Although I don't know if at that point they're less problematic in the neighborhood, but these drugs are very dangerous. And yeah, some of these drug addicts can be people with disability, women, and seniors. And so BC Housing likes to play with these words and play word games and mind games and gaslight people on them. And so what we're saying is that supportive housing would be fine. Everyone would support it if the model was that drug-free housing for homeless people, that there was a zero tolerance policy for drugs. If there was treatment centers with detox and treatment in a more secure setting, and this is where I've been calling on the government to hospital to expand it into a center for excellence on drug addiction and mental health. And I've reminded people that we're at the heart of the fentanyl crisis in North America, right here in Vancouver, in BC. And so our response to this crisis could make us a world leader in mental health and drug addiction treatment if we put our public resources to that. And I don't care which party's in government that does it. I would support any party that were to do an approach like this, because we need this type of approach. And I think everyone would actually support that. And then if people can go through the treatment, they can transition into drug-free supportive housing and then transition with their lives.
So is there any treatment, mandatory treatment facilities for those drug users? Is there any? No?
Not in BC.
In BC?
No.
We have over 5 million people living in BC, but how come they don't have this kind of facilities for treatment?
So for years, they've been saying we need to build this housing and build the housing first and then deal with the detox and treatment later. But then, it's been years. And then I went back and asked different levels of government. I said, okay, you said years ago you need to build this housing first, but is this causing crime and disorder? And still these people are dying at some of these supportive housing sites, whether in Richmond, in Coquitlam, Kelowna. Body bags, you probably see a body bag every month, maybe a couple body bags every month. So the people, it's supposed to help these people, but they're not getting help. Their addiction is being exacerbated and they are dying in these housing sites, and no progress on detox and treatment.
No. So in many Canadian cities, crime around supportive housing actually went up.
Well, in BC, Alberta, different provinces have different things. Like Alberta is now starting to force people into treatment, but every province is a little bit different. But in BC, 70% of the opioid epidemic in Canada is Vancouver oriented. The rest is Toronto and elsewhere, but the worst is right here in Metro Vancouver.
Yeah, assault, the break-ins increase, the drug dealings and open drug use increased, shoplifting and property crime increased, and 911 calls increased.
Yes.
And then the emergency, the ambulance calling, beep, boop, beep, boop. Oh my goodness, a lot.
Well, some days it's just the police, some days it's the fire department, some days it's the ambulance, some days it's all three, plus the morgue van. So they say that these sites are supposed to stop the use on emergency resources, but the first responders, the frontline first responders, not the bureaucrats higher up, but the frontline personnel will tell you that they are being called to these sites constantly because of emergency problems, unnecessary and preventable emergency problems.
Yes. So now we know more about the nature of the supportive housing. David, what do you think now? So what is the nature of the Burnaby Neighborhood Watch? What is that about? So what is your accountability for that?
Well, Burnaby Neighborhood Watch, we were established in 2023. I actually just joined, I think, last week. So I haven't joined for a very long time because in the beginning, I had no idea what this project was. I was a typical resident. I live about 10 blocks away from the site. And
Only 10 blocks away?
I live 10 blocks away. I live by, I
Not
used to
far away,
walk
though.
in the summertime with my wife and my son to get dessert, right? Right around the corner, 200 meters away from the site. When I started reading into what supportive care and complex care or complex health housing is, I immediately got, I felt that I needed to do something.
Yeah,
And,
it's time.
because of Mei Sun, we moved very, very quickly. I only found out about it on the weekend of November 27th, 28th. It was proposed or it was announced by the government on November 26th. But within a week, our neighbors are signing the online petition. I joined groups. I've been very vocal within our WhatsApp chat, and that's how I met Sheldon. And one day, Sheldon was saying, "I'm in the neighborhood. Does anyone want to come meet me?" And I said, "I'm 3 minutes away." I gave him a call. I said, "Just wait there. Let's talk." And that's the night Sheldon told me what complex care is and supportive housing really entails. And that's when I went back home and started doing research all night, and I started getting very angry. And I started to think to myself, what can I do to make a difference in my community? And then that's how I got involved with Burnaby Neighborhood Watch. For us, we are against this housing project, not because it's housing for the poor or for seniors. We're not against that. We believe that there should be more responsible housing for people who really need it. What we oppose is the government building such a site without proper consultation to the neighbors, without accountability, without proper security in place. And when I talk about a consultation to the neighborhood, they're only talking to neighbors within 150 feet or 150 meters. Sorry. When I drew a map, I showed at the press conference, 150 meters doesn't even touch Kingsway. It doesn't even touch Royal Oak, right? And they say they're letting everyone know within 150 meters. I talked to store owners, Selena, Beauty and Hair, Beauty and her spa. She's the owner. I asked her, "Did you receive anything?" She said, "No." I talked to my neighbors too. Only 2 of them received it.
Oh,
right?
no.
On
You
Lane
did a
Street.
bad job.
On Lane Street, there's another store called Petmo, and they're very vocal about it as well. Because if you open the doors of their businesses, 你睇對面咧就係呢個site, and it's going to affect their business heavily, right? And when you start a business, you probably took out loans, you probably have maybe a mortgage, and the first couple of years of running a business, you might not even be profiting yet.
No.
Selena just opened her business back in 2023, I believe, 2022 or 2023. And so maybe when she's starting to see profitability, maybe she actually has really good business. I went there and it was busy. But then she gets the news like this, that her business is about to change because the neighborhood is changing. Not just the possibility of her store being, being stolen or theft or higher risk of that, but her customers might be afraid to come back to her, right? Just like how you spoke, 唐人街我其實都係好鍾意嘅，但係咧last year I brought my son to Chinatown. I love Chinatown because I grew up. I used to go to Chinatown when I was in elementary school by myself, just because I liked Sanyatan Gardens, and then I could buy a comic book from the Taiwanese bookstore. But I took my son last year for the RBC Chinatown event, and then he told me, "Daddy, I don't want to ever go to Chinatown again." I said, "Why?" because it's so scary there, right? Because I took him for a walk. There's people sitting there. There's people lying on the floor. It smells like feces and urine, and there's a lot of drug paraphernalia on the floor. And that's not the Chinatown I remembered at all as a child. And it saddens me, and I really don't want Burnaby to be like that either. I don't think Burnaby Neighborhood Watch or any resident living here in Burnaby wants that.
No.
Yeah.
And also we need to educate people, like tell the people, like 同所有嘅居民講咧 what is this about, like supportive housing 並唔係要我哋 compassion 去愛佢哋。我要重申啦 this kind of supportive housing 咧佢係 no detox 㗎，冇戒毒㗎，係冇復康㗎，冇復康㗎 no rehab, okay? And no addiction recovery program 冇㗎，佢只會更加俾毒你㗎。They give you and more substance that you need. No mental health treatment compliances requirement. Okay? 所以其實咧呢個同 harm reduction 係完全係 is opposite of harm reduction. They do nothing about the harm reduction. There's even more harm than reduction.
It's really like extension, really. Harm reduction is kind of an oxymoronic term because the idea behind it is that, okay, we're going to give you pharmaceutical drugs that are safer, that you're not going to die from doing them, like hydromorphone, which is an opioid of sorts. The problem is the people that are addicted to hard street drugs, these pharmaceutical drugs are not going to get them what they want, the high that they want. And so instead, what they do is that they take these drugs that our taxes are funding and buying from pharmaceutical companies. The pharmaceutical companies don't mind because they're making their money. But so they take the drugs that we're funding, and then they take it back to their drug dealers, and they trade these legal taxpayer-funded drugs for hard drugs. Now, the drug dealers take these clean whatever government drugs, although no drugs are clean because you can still die from an overdose on hydromorphone, but they take these drugs and then they either resell them in schools, like what was happening in the Nanaimo school district. It was really bad in Nanaimo, and it could also still be happening in other school districts because kids know these drugs as dillies. That's the nickname for them. And they know that dillies come from pharmacists. They're prescribed, dispensed by pharmacists. So they think that because it's coming from a pharmacist,
it's a safe drug.
It will be safe. Now, the problem is once these drugs transition hands, they can become mishandled and become contaminated with fentanyl or tranq or these other drugs. And if someone does it, then they can overdose and die. So these clean drugs also become dirty drugs. But even clean drugs in their purest form, you can still overdose and die, even if it's not cut with all these other ones that can kill you much more quickly. All these drugs are bad for us at some level. So safe supply, harm reduction, it's not really working. And instead, the police call it diversion. That's when the drugs get diverted.
Yeah. 同埋 harm reduction 咧喺 supportive housing 嘅意思係咧，佢哋係繼續 they allow continued drug use. They have no restriction.
They don't stop it. Yeah, they don't
They
stop
don't stop it.
No
佢哋繼
barrier.
續俾你嘅。Yeah, you're right.
No barrier is no barrier.
Also, like what Sheldon said is they provide safe supply. They name it safe, but of course it's not safe. It's same as drug, right? But they provide safe supply, and they supervise and tolerate drug consumption inside the supportive facilities.
Yeah, they supervise or they use something called overdose prevention, OPS, which is a peer-to-peer witness program where another drug addict can come and witness them. And so in theory, that if something were to happen, they can call the police. But still, they can do that inside these sites too. But that still doesn't stop them from doing it outside in the surrounding sites, breaking into neighboring condos, businesses. In my neighborhood, like the hotel across the street, Executive Hotel, has had drug addicts go up upstairs into their building, into their hot tub, so they could do drugs in the hot tub in the hotel, or break into people's cars to do drugs. So it's happened extensively in this neighborhood. It's not isolated here. It's in other cities where these sites have went. And that's why when we opposed the thing here in Richmond, and I heard from other cities, people in Kelowna messaging me, Abbotsford, concerned residents in Burnaby messaged me too. It's like, yeah, if they build more of these elsewhere, it's going to create more problems and destroy more neighborhoods. And so some people say that if you oppose to this, you're a NIMBY. It's like, well, no, I have one in my backyard. I've seen firsthand the negative impacts. It's broken. It's a broken model. And I don't want it in other people's backyards. I don't want it in other cities or other communities. I want it to stop. And I want to help the people in Burnaby and other cities so that they don't have to live with this, and that we can come up with a better system that will address the drug crisis, the drug addiction, the mental health, and do that in a way that keeps our communities safe.
Right. And I don't understand, like, how does the government justify placing this complex in a stable residential community without providing any support or protection for the homeowners whose property value may decline too, right?
I want to interrupt here. For us, for Burnaby Neighborhood Watch, we, besides this issue, we also look at other issues as well. Yes, something like this would obviously have an effect on property value, and because the majority of protesters right now are Chinese speaking, the media sometimes makes it into a Chinese issue, not necessarily a safety issue, or an issue where children can be exposed to open drug use. So instead of I don't want to make this too political at this point. I want to stay focused. My main goal right now, as well as Burnaby Neighborhood Watch's main goal right now, is to try to stop this site. Obviously, if time goes by, now because we're so new at this, Sheldon has been very helpful. We're very gracious for you supporting us. But as time goes forward, if we can apply our experience in other cities, potentially in the future, we definitely be helpful as well. But we can't speak too much on politics. I believe at this point there are supporters of both the left and the right living in Burnaby that are against this specific project at this point.
Yes, I really hope the government can prove, like, why do they build a supportive housing inside the residential area with lots of parks, schools, and any evidence? Why there?
So they build it in these core city center areas because they say it's a central location. These people, they need access to hospital. They may need access to the local court system. Like in Richmond, they use, it's close to the courthouse. It's like, well, does that mean that they're conceding that they know there's going to be legal problems, criminal problems with it? But they put it close to the city center, close to the hospital, emergency services. If there's other healthcare related services nearby, they say that, and also transportation. That's key because a lot of these people don't have vehicles. They ride a bike, sometimes stolen bikes or scooters. But they say this is the reason why. But there's no follow-up on really like helping the people. So again, then you have crime disorder happening. When I met David earlier in this week, or I guess last week, it was, when we were standing there outside the site, and I think we were only there for about 30-40 minutes, but it dawned on me how many kids walk by there as we were talking. Like I had like 30 different kids, like just kids coming and going from school, music practice, extracurricular activities. They were walking by, teenagers, and it's like, it's right in between two like auto businesses, but there's residential behind, restaurants and other retail across the street. But yeah, a lot of kids are walking by there, and it's a central location. And I just think of that 14-year-old girl in Surrey who overdosed. She was able to get fentanyl from someone who has been seen at and around supportive housing sites. I don't know whether that guy was a resident or not, but she was able to get her drugs because of this. So what happens if more kids are able to get drugs in this area or pick something up that might be contaminated with drugs? Like there was a 13-year-old boy in Abbotsford who picked something up at a station and thought it was candy and overdosed on fentanyl. So this is a bad location. I mean, most of them they're bad locations, but the bigger issue here is that the model is wrong. The model is allowing this to happen. And yeah, I stand in support of the people in Burnaby when they say they don't want it there, because they've seen the track record of BC Housing in Richmond, in Coquitlam. In Coquitlam, you have 3030 Gordon Avenue, also operated by the same operator that operates the one across the street from me at Alderbridge. The other one in Richmond too, Astor Place. These three sites, Astor, Alderbridge, and 3030 Gordon Avenue, all of them have, after they went up, also brought encampments into the neighborhood. So the housing minister and other proponents of this will say that you need to build this, otherwise there will be encampments, and you don't like encampments. But these three sites, there was no encampments until after they were built. So the track record often shows the opposite of everything that they are arguing that it will do to help.
Yes, not only the supportive housing, also the CCH, the complex care housing. They are used for mental health people.
And more severe drug addiction.
Severe mental health people. Can you imagine that? And also in this housing, they don't have any mandatory rules.
No.
Like they don't stop any crime. They don't stop drug dealing. They don't stop any violence. They don't stop any disruptive behavior. Nothing. It costs more police or ambulance to come more often after. So it's really dangerous to the residents. Of
we've seen some people kicked out of some of the sites, but then they just they alternate between other sites as well. Here, like at the one across the street from me, we've identified 6 of the drug addicts that are also sex offenders as well. The RCMP did not tell anyone that some of these residents in here were multiple repeat sex offenders as well. Now that person was kicked out because apparently he did sexually harass staff members. But still, he comes to the area and loiters around the area, does drug steal, exposes himself to vulnerable women, there's no accountability for this behavior. Otherwise, they just play hot potato and move them around.
Yesterday I went to a shop. At the entrance, I saw one like substance user, I don't know, like druggie, like was folding himself in front of the entrance, and on the floor there's so many stuff he stole from the store, and then one staff was watching him, and then the staff was watching him, like just stop him from doing these things, and then but the staff was helpless, like no police, nothing, and also the customer was scared. And then in and out and was looking at him, but the staff was just standing there watching him. Nothing he can do. And then I saw on the floor there's so many stuff that he has stolen on the floor. It's so irritating. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
The staff supposed to help the customer, to serve the customer inside the shop, but not like to service the druggie, right? But he used one staff like just watching him, but there's no police.
And I think as a staff member, if you work somewhere, staff are normal people. They work in sales. They might work in customer service. You're absolutely right. They're there to maybe sell goods or provide service to customers. They're not there to clean up after the drug users. They're not there to call the police every day if something like that. And if the police come, there's only a limited amount of things the police can actually do. The police maybe can arrest them if it warrants it, but generally speaking, the police can't do anything. The police maybe will tell them to go away, but maybe the next day that person will come back again. I'm very familiar with this because I worked part-time while I was in university near the downtown east side. So as a restaurant server, there's nothing you can really do. You can tell them to go away, but then the same people will come back the day after or maybe a week later, right? There's a limited amount of things the police can do to really help us out. So BC Housing is saying, the government is saying that, yes, there will be supports in place so that the neighbors feel safe. Well, I disagree with that as well, because I have personal experience where I didn't feel safe. Obviously, I was in a location that was already pretty notorious for these types of drug addicts already. But I also served a lot of nice people, neighborhood people, low income, seniors, daily customers who I knew by name and who knew me as well, right? They're all very nice people. They may be used to it already. But at the same time, there was a lot of drugs and just chaos that we can't control, what we have no control over, no matter how big promises politicians may tell us.
Yeah, I wonder why. 點解我哋嘅 BC 省 at our province has no rehabilitation for the drug user? This is, I cannot believe it, and ridiculous for that. And then they put those mental health people to residential area and tell the people that they are safe. You should have compassion for those people. They need help. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and to echo what was said, that David said, was that, some of these corporations or businesses, they do have corporate policies that if people steal, just let it be an insurance issue, which then of course drives everyone's insurance costs up. But they also don't want any of their staff members to get stabbed, bit, or something by someone who could have HIV/AIDS or other issues. So they do want to protect their staff and the customers. And so if people steal items, well, items can be replaceable. But on the other hand, too, the police, they can arrest these people for assault or stabbing someone. And the person can be arrested for one day and then they're released the next day. And maybe they only get a one-day jail sentence. And so we have a problem with our revolving door, catch and release federal criminal policies. And that's exacerbating things too. The BC Prosecution Service will say they're backlogged. They don't have enough prosecutors. So many of their dockets are backed up because there's so many repeat offenders. One guy in Richmond on Mother's Day earlier this year, his name escapes me at this moment, but he's the one that broke in at the car at Hattie Lau on Mother's Day, and it turned out he had broken into other cars so many times in Burnaby, in Coquitlam, in Surrey, Vancouver. And this guy, as of 2022, was convicted 115 times. Since 2022, he still has like another 20 or 30 things, I guess, winding their way through the courts. And it's slow because each time he gets released, then he goes and commits more crimes. Then they have to add more crimes on, and it slows everything down. And then if you have like a couple hundred people who are just like this, who are habitual repeat reoffenders, they're clogging up the entire prosecution system because they just keep getting released and reoffending? And do you try that separately or do you try to put them all together? Either way, it's going to take more time to compound all of these crimes and charges. So, yeah, this housing, the drug policies also intersect with the failings of our criminal justice system and just all these different bureaucracies doing different things and not working together.
No, they are not working together. 即係我哋嘅司法制度同埋我哋而家嘅 BC Housing 嗰個，即係對於 harm reduction 嘅睇法，完全係唔係合邏輯咯。即係佢哋唔做嘢，就要啲市民、要啲 resident 去 suffer， 去面對呢啲咁樣嘅問題。呢啲佢哋面對唔到嘅，因為佢哋係 mental health， 佢哋有問題，佢哋係有 substance use 嘅人嚟嘅 people， 佢哋所有人都住喺呢個地方咧，佢哋因為係 homeless， 佢哋係露宿者，佢哋露宿者係因為有好多佢哋嘅問題，包括 mental health， 包括佢哋係繼續食吸毒㗎，係啊，所以咧今次咧，我希望啦，大家咧喺 Burnaby 嘅居民啦，或者阿 David 你呼籲一下啦。今日我哋請咗 Sheldon 佢就 share 咗喺 Richmond 嘅經驗，因為Sheldon is very popular in Richmond because people knows him, but because he always standing up for, our safety.
Yes.
Our safety in Richmond. He cares about our safety in Richmond, so he stand up. 咁而家好希望即係Sheldon will inspire you, David. To tell you more about the truth of the supportive housing, so that you can inspire 話俾你哋嘅居民聽。你而家有冇啲咩説話同佢哋講？因為我知道咧，禮拜二咧，coming Tuesday 嘅 December 9th， 12月嘅9號咧就會有一個嘅活動嚇，你不如呼籲下 in Cantonese。
我哋下個星期10月9號下午4點會去本拿比嘅 City Hall 去示威。嗰日咧會係個我哋叫做 silent demonstration， 就係大家都着白色嘅衫去嗰度示威。我哋唔使講太多，但係咧我哋想俾啲 pressure 俾到 city， 我哋要佢哋知道我哋唔歡迎咁樣嘅 project 係我哋個 neighborhood。我哋係想幫需要幫嘅啲人，但係我哋唔希望佢哋就咁樣做一個 irresponsible 個 decision 嚟 ruin 嚟害我哋個 neighborhood。我哋一定要一齊去示威。我哋其實上個星期呢個 weekend 我哋已經做咗好多㗎啦。兩個 MLA 其實佢哋有 open house， 咁我哋啲opponents protester 都去咗佢哋個 open house 區去同佢哋講。我自己同阿 Paul Choi 有傾下偈咁樣。上個星期四我哋當然係有呢個 news conference push 出嚟呢個事。跟住咧the next day on Friday 10月5號咧，我哋好多 supporter 都去咗 City Hall。今次咧我覺得9號呢一場咧會好大，因為好多人咧佢哋話星期五太急，我哋去唔到。好，冇問題，咁我哋俾你哋更加多啲時間。跟住咧個時間係下午4點至7點。因為Burnaby City 嗰日係5點會做個 vote 去 discuss city 啲 policy， 我哋一定要俾佢哋 pressure， 唔係嘅話佢哋就咁樣入咗個 project， 我哋做市民嘅做 neighbor 嘅完全唔知呢間事。
冇錯，因為咧以我所知道咧，其實呢個係 BC Housing propose 嘅，但係咧嗰個地咧嗰個 land 係屬於 city 嘅。其實佢哋係需要 city 嘅 approval 嘅，所以我都好想知道 City of Burnaby 佢哋嘅 council 佢哋係點樣諗
？City Council 而家冇出聲，佢哋咧其實 City Council 你如果去睇下嘅話咧，佢哋係比較 left leaning 嘅，咁佢哋係當然想幫 provincial government 嘅，但係咧 no speaking politics， 我哋都想。Regardless of left or right， 我哋其實都有 supporter on both sides of the aisle saying no, we don't want this in our neighborhood。所以咧，我哋仲未有機會同 City Councillor 佢傾，但係咧，我哋一定星期二俾佢哋知 ，the people are speaking, the people are here to protest, the people are here wearing white, we're standing outside, we want to do it peacefully, and we can do it silently。但係佢哋一定要知 ，we're coming here in numbers。Yes。
所以今日我哋呢個 video 嘅目的嘅 interview 嘅目的都係希望俾大家知道乜嘢叫做 supportive housing， 乜嘢叫做 complex care housing 嚇，咁同埋你 share 阿 Sheldon 個 experience 同大家分享，而因為佢係 suffer 緊而家呢一種嘅 housing 帶俾佢嘅問題，同埋佢睇住我哋包括我自己睇住 Richmond 嘅嗰個 change， 即係由好 peaceful 嘅，而家越嚟越多嗰啲咁樣嘅drug user。係 from 個 SkyTrain 咁樣一車一車咁嚟，喺嗰個地方好多 crime， 我聽到嗰啲 ambulance beep 真係好多時都有，因為係多咗嗰啲人 overdose 或者 something wrong， right？ 同埋大家明白乜嘢叫做 supportive housing， 咁要知道佢係乜嘢嚟嘅，咁你哋就知道唔好俾佢哋 BC housing 去氹你哋。
係。
話俾你聽，哦唔係嘅，係俾老人家住嘅。Sorry， 佢唔係 elderly home 嚟㗎。唔緊要，我哋裏邊有醫護嘅設施㗎。Sorry， 佢唔係醫院嚟㗎，佢冇 clinical 嘅 facilities 㗎，冇㗎。佢會話俾你聽，我哋 24/7 都有人睇住，可能係得一個人㗎咋，或者 you don't know， 佢其實係冇 support， 同埋佢哋係記住，佢係繼續俾毒佢哋食㗎。
係啊，係啊。嗰啲Sheldon 頭先講咗，佢哋啲毒其實佢哋都唔中意，佢哋換翻啲佢哋中意嘅毒，跟住佢哋政府俾佢哋啲毒，佢哋就賣翻俾我哋個 community， 再害翻我哋嘅 community， 害翻我哋個仔女。
冇錯，Sheldon 講得好啱，因為嗰啲毒佢哋唔使錢嘛，佢咪將佢賣咯，咁咪賣平啲咯，平到咧嗰啲學生咧就好似買支汽水咁平。係咪？好似個 soda 咁樣咁平嘅啫，好 cheap 嘅，咁佢哋咪個個 take 咯。係啊。係咪？我同你講啊，我哋一定要做啲嘢。而家即係我都有細路啲 teenager， 佢都講㗎。而家出邊如果啲小朋友啲 teenager get together having parties，they will do whatever they want。Drinking 唔使講啦，會唔會有啲做多個 drinking 嘅嘢？譬如substance use 你唔知㗎，因為佢哋好容易得到呢啲 drug。Saved drug， 你信唔信你 safe 啦 ？Nothing is safe。drug 就係 drug。所以今日啦，我哋真係要好大聲，希望 Burnaby 嘅朋友知道，即係保障翻你自己嗰個安全個 safety。嚇，咁 David and Sheldon， you work together. Hopefully, something will happen and let everyone knows like what is happening.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, go ahead.
And I was going to say one thing. The mayor and councillor in Burnaby, hopefully they will do the right thing, like the mayor and councillors in Surrey. And in Richmond too, they did the right thing a little bit late, but they did. And that if this is, some might try to say that this has not come before council yet, that procedurally they cannot do anything because it's not in front of them. However, I just want to put it out there that is political talk from elected politicians, because they can talk in a meeting and come to a conclusion that and publicly say that they will not support this in Burnaby. It doesn't have to be before council as zoning. It doesn't have to be before council as a motion. They can come together and come out and announce that they stand with their constituents, the people of Burnaby, against this poorly thought out policy from BC Housing. And I'm hoping that the elected officials in Burnaby do listen to David and his the other people that are working at Burnaby Neighborhood Watch. I'm here to help them as I can based on my experience in Richmond. But it is up to them to get their local politicians to stand in solidarity with them. And I hope that they know that that their local politicians can come out against this. And if they say that the provincial government is going to override them and push back, let the provincial government override them and push back, because then the citizens in Burnaby can support their city government as well and push back against the provincial government if they decide to go down that route.
Yeah， 好啦，咁啊到最後啦，都好多謝我哋有啲嘅朋友都同我哋傾偈。最後啦 ，David，so what do you want to say to Burnaby's people?
I want to say that if we all work together as a city, as a community, and tell our elected officials that this isn't welcome here, this needs more consultation, needs more research, and it needs a better solution than putting it smack in the middle of a residential neighborhood with so many schools, elderly care homes, and businesses nearby, where thousands of children go to school, where hundreds of children walk across Imperial and Royal Oak every single day. I want to tell everyone in Burnaby that if we work together, if we protest, not just on Tuesday, Tuesday is very important. I'd like everyone to show up. I think a lot of supporters will be there, but we need to give pressure to our politicians, because that's the only way change goes. If a politician like Paul Choi told me yesterday, oh, you can email this person or you can email this ministry, I told them straight up, that's not my job. You're our elected representative. It should be your job to go talk to whatever minister. I'm not a politician. I'm just a concerned resident.
Right.
But I want to tell everyone that we live in a democracy. We live in somewhere where if they don't help us, then we need to help ourselves.
Right.
And we need to help ourselves. The only way to do so is to combine our efforts and be one community.
好簡單咁，試下用廣東話再呼籲多一次，等多啲我哋嘅觀眾都可以聽到，同埋
我試下。我想同大家講咧，就係冇驚，我哋如果相信自己嘅話咧，我哋肯定可以改變呢個 project 嘅。如果 South Surrey 改咗 ，Richmond 改咗，我哋一定都可以改咗。但係咧，你喺屋企坐喺你個 computer 面前或者睇電視咧係唔得嘅。你一定要同我哋一齊呢個星期二下午4點開始，我哋去示威，着白色衫，我哋一定要同 Burnaby City 政府話我哋唔支持呢個 project。多謝晒大家。
多謝。咁啊，今日真係 thank you so much for Sheldon to come to share your experience。And also 好多謝 David 啦，同我哋講下啦。咁希望我哋 Burnaby 嘅觀眾啦睇到嘅時候咧，記住下個星期二 December 9th 12月嘅9號4點鐘，咁咧就會喺呢個地方就係 Burnaby 嘅 City Hall， 大家着白色衫 ，OK， 咁咧就有個好 silence 嘅好和平嘅一個抗議嘅活動啦。其實係一個表態嘅活動啦，咁就喺4949 Canada Way Burnaby 嘅。咁希望大家就一定要參加，同埋將呢個 message spread 宣傳出去，希望多啲嘅支持，團結就係力量。希望大家一定要把握呢個機會，要話俾大家，話俾呢個政府聽，佢做嘅嘢係唔啱嘅，係唔可以咁樣嘅。呢個唔係 harm reduction， 係 harm expansion。係咪呢個唔啱嘅，絕對唔啱，冇理由為咗呢啲咁樣嘅 mental health 嘅，要影響咗成個社區嘅安全。太多小朋友啦，太多學生，太多老人家啦。OK，so thank you， 或者我哋會繼續 follow up 啊。OK，如果你再下一次有其他嘅活動，同阿 Sheldon 我哋一齊，我哋再同大家講，同大家多啲 communication， 多啲嘅溝通，好唔好啊？好
啊，我都練下我廣東話。
你 support 要講廣東話 OK， 你講得好好啊！
多謝晒。
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Sheldon.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing this with your viewers, and thank you to your viewers and the people watching. And hopefully, if they're in Burnaby or surrounding, that they can come out and support the silent rally at Burnaby City Hall on Tuesday. I think there will be speakers outside, but I think those inside have to be silent. So I won't go inside. I don't live in Burnaby, but I support everything that everyone in Burnaby is doing, so I will be there in solidarity. And thank you very much for putting this in this dialogue tonight.
同埋再次咧，好多謝其實好多朋友嘅留言啦，我哋都會慢慢睇翻，好多謝你哋嘅留言啦嚇。咁好，咁我哋今日到此為止。
OK，thank you。
OK，多謝晒，我哋下次見。OK，
拜拜。
拜拜。
Bye，Sheldon。
Bye。